You ever hear the story of the really unpopular kid at school who grows up to have a really happy and successful life, and as a result, all the people who used to ignore them really want back into their life all of a sudden because, hey, now we care. That's the Wonderful 101. Not enough people got to experience this game. That's just an objective fact. And when you look at the history of it, I believe that's due to everybody. Like, there was so much going against this game when it first released, it didn't stand a chance. Platinum Games nowadays doesn't have the same reputation they did back when this title first released. The games under their belt were certainly really well made, but they were still on a more niche side of things. And when you look back to E3 2012, when Nintendo was really starting to hype up the Wii U, they, for some reason, left this out of their conference, revealed it at an interview segment shortly after, and the first part of the trailer is a close-up of character models that are far, far too blocky for their own good. Who thought this was a good idea? Why did Nintendo even care to get the exclusivity for this? Safe to say, it didn't make a strong first impression, mostly a confusing one. Later on down the road, after the Wii U was unleashed into the masses, we would get a dedicated Wonderful 101 Direct, with a brand new trailer clocking in at 7 damn minutes. Why? Why is it that long? Trying to convince people that this new IP is worth your time and you're gonna throw a short movie at them? It also shows so many different things going on, it's hard to tell just what this is trying to be. You tie all of this confusion together with the Wii U's general low sales, and a demo that released on the eShop that did a pretty poor job convincing those who did have the console to buy the game due to a lack of a comprehensive tutorial leading to a frustrating experience. Yeah, like I said, didn't stand a chance. By the way, I love that Nintendo put Kamiya's Twitter handle right there, front and center. Yeah, go ahead and tweet at him, see what happens. But thanks to those who did play the game being very vocal about its quality, it grew a hardcore following over the years, and nowadays it's available on everything with a modern port thanks to a successful Kickstarter. I was actually given a review code for the game, so thank you so much Platinum for that, but even still, I supported the Kickstarter anyway. I wanted that nice physical edition that I can put on my shelf and proudly display. I didn't support them enough to be blocked by Kamiya on Twitter, as funny as that is, because I was already blocked by Kamiya because years ago I asked for more Wonderful 101. Can't write a better end to the story than that. Let's quickly address the elephant in the room here, the Wonderful 101 Remastered. The original release certainly did have some issues that had to be addressed, like the aforementioned poor way the first level lays so much on you, expecting you to know how to progress and not get pissed off while doing so. Here in the modern version, you can immediately go to the shop and buy some upgrades that are damn near required to enjoy that first stage. This is something you could do in the original, but Remastered drops the price dramatically to make sure that you know you are going to need them. Should have just given them to you automatically at that point, but hey, it's something. There's also the issue of the Wii U gamepad. Wonderful 101 was very much built with that controller in mind. The action is split between both screens very frequently. You did have the choice of a couple of different display options, but nothing was really all that ideal if you wanted a single screen experience. So, how did Remastered handle this? I mean, yeah, I guess I don't know what else they could have done. To give the developers credit, whenever the primary gameplay goes to the second screen where you really need to focus, it'll just automatically swap the screens for you, rather than having you make a choice. It's still pretty jank, but I mean, that's what this adventure is. The entire two-screen setup would have to be completely redone to get rid of it in its entirety. And I mean, come on, the Kickstarter only made like 50 times its initial goal. Clearly, they didn't have the budget for that. Remastered. I guess it sounds better when you market the game that way, and to be fair, the lines between remaster and port have been getting kind of blurry over the years, but let's just call a spade here. This is just as much of a Wii U port as any other. You have Definitive Edition, Deluxe, New Funky Mode, Remastered. All of these words mean the same thing now. But that being said, the Wonderful 101 is one of my favorite games of the last decade, so I kind of just wanted to take a few minutes to rave about it. That's all. Let a man live. Let me be clear here. Looking back, those early trailers, they weren't wrong. There is a whole lot going on in this adventure, and if you're not caught up with Platinum Games' patented over-the-top crazy beat-em-up gameplay style, then you're probably gonna be a bit overwhelmed. That's just how this company works. But when things finally click, oh, Oh, it is so damn good, dude. It is so much fun. One could say it's
wonderful.
That's all I think of when I hear that word now. The story here is honestly the simplest part of the whole equation. Alien terrorists of the evil Geth Jerk Federation are invading Earth, and you, Wonder Red, as a major player in the superhero organization, the Wonderful 100, decide to travel across the planet to gather all of the other wonderful ones and destroy the impending menace. That's kinda it from start to finish. Just go stop the aliens. Each chapter gives you a new villain to take down, a select few of the new heroes get glamorous introductions, and overall, you're just constantly moving forward to that eventual saving the Earth goal. It's all about the special characters that keep the story engaging. The overly heroic, almost to an annoying degree, Red, the suave and cocky with his Valiantium blade, Blue, big boy Frenchman always with a snack in hand, Green. Each of the heroes is so over the top on totally different parts of the personality spectrum. It leads to some incredibly entertaining cutscenes that pop up in between moments of the gameplay. So much so that it's almost better to purposefully fail at the many QuickTime segments because a funny little gag will play for each and every one of them. You know how with some of the early Crash Bandicoot games, death typically plays out in a comical fashion, easing some of the pain of losing a life? It's kinda like that here, except you're gonna want to see them on purpose. The only real downside of the plot here is Luca. I apologize to all the Luca fans out there, but this kid's a twerp. He does play a very integral role in the story, but that's just because he's so annoying. He's constantly getting in the way of your mission. Many times you're trying to keep him back and he just keeps doing his own thing, messing with your plans. He's the worst. You can look past him pretty easily, and I guess he does technically keep moving the plot forward, but yeah, all these years after my initial playthrough, he is still the worst. As far as the gameplay is concerned, you know, that thing that seemed to be all over the place in the initial trailers, it's actually primarily a pretty straightforward top-down beat-em-up with a really cool weapon swapping mechanic. Each of the main heroes you pick up along the way specializes in a different weapon, and in combat you can switch between them by drawing a specific shape with the right analog stick at any time. A circle for a fist, a straight line for a sword, a little squiggly line for a whip. I've seen many people mention how difficult it can be to really get the shape you're trying to draw, but I don't know, man. I've never had that issue. Sure, it takes some time getting used to, but isn't that the same for every game mechanic ever? Back on the Wii U version, you also had the option to draw the shape on the gamepad, and even with the Switch in portable mode and the PS4 with the touchpad on the controller, it is still possible to make those shapes without needing an analog stick, but I just never liked that. The game is simply too fast-paced for that. I would rather learn how to properly use the stick than have to take my hands off of the buttons just so I can try and draw and hope that I make the circle correctly. I also imagine that doing that with a DualShock 4 touchpad would be a nightmare. So yeah, just try to get good with using the analog stick, it's not that hard. The size of the weapon you make is important as well. It depends on the size of the shape that you draw, which is based on how many heroes you have on hand. While there are only a couple main character heroes, the worlds are littered with civilians that you're able to recruit just for that stage to boost your numbers, but there are also hidden heroes that upgrade that number permanently. The bigger the number, the better chance you have of dealing more damage, and with some extra add-ons that you can purchase in the in-game shop, you can even send some heroes out in real time to do some basic attacks while you lay out some more hits yourself. It may seem like a lot, but it's actually really straightforward to pull off, and it's a great way to really confuse your friends who you're trying to convince this is easy to control. I've been there, I've tried. Oh yeah, and all of those extra heroes that you pick up, they're great as well. A beer drinker, a magician, a nun. Dude, even Santa is joining the fight. Listen, all I'm saying is you should put Santa Claus in Smash. He totally deserves it. Do it, you cowards. The campaign is cut up into different chapters, most of which containing 3 stages, and each of them taking place in different locations. While the majority of the game is running around from mission to mission, trying to find all the collectibles, and beating up any robots that stand in your way because how dare they? Suddenly baseball. Yeah, the Wonderful 101 is not afraid to change things up. This is kind of what they were referring to with those initial trailers being all over the place. The game can occasionally be all over the place. There are so many different contextual special gameplay styles that'll happen when you least expect them, with entirely new control schemes to wrap your head around. You're still working towards the same objective, and a lot of what goes on in the primary gameplay does leak over into these unique styles, but how you get to that end goal changes whenever the game feels like it. When you finally figure out what's being asked of you and you're pulling off these crazy, flashy combos and getting shiny rewards as a result, it is so damn satisfying. Replayability is highly encouraged here. It's not required to attempt challenges over and over again just so you can kind of succeed, but all you gotta do is go back to the first stage after putting in some hours into the campaign. Your squad is a lot larger now, you've purchased and unlocked a bunch of new abilities, your eye is a lot more tuned in to finding a bunch of collectibles, and there's also a ton of achievements to go for as well, all working towards even more special heroes, and you'll probably see for yourself that you're getting a whole lot better at controlling this game. And the bosses, oh my god, the bosses. A good boss battle should take everything that you've learned along the way and put it all together for one epic challenge. And that is a game-wide constant. They are so good. The set pieces are really memorable, diplomacy has failed, the action is non-stop, diplomacy has failed. We get some of the best QuickTime events the gaming industry has ever produced. The music always ramps up and we get this awesome and cheesy vocalized theme song. It is so good. And did I mention diplomacy has failed?
Diplomacy has failed. Diplomacy has failed.
This dude says that a lot. It's in these moments where Platinum Games is at their best. Almost as if it's a gift for learning how to properly play the game, you're treated to feeling awesome and super satisfied. That being said though, I would love to just toss endless praise here, but there are still a few frustrations. Overall, the game does get way better the more familiar you are with every aspect of it, but if you're, I don't know, a normal person who likes to play video games once and that's it, be prepared to really hate turtles. Things are meant to get really hectic, but that also means things can possibly get too hectic. Sometimes you think you know how to take down the enemies, but it'll just result in you mashing buttons endlessly and hoping for the best. And some of these obstacles, like enemies with really big spiky shields, they end up feeling more like a chore than a challenge. Once again, once you learn the most effective way of handling everything the game throws your way, it's awesome, but a lot of the times that's the result of you figuring things out for yourself. And while most of the bosses are super good, the battles against Prince Vorkin and his goons, they blow. It's a novel idea, you know, you and your squad fight a similar antagonist and his squad. Suddenly it is an absolute cluster of a battle where the game really can't seem to decide whether its established rules make sense or not. Some attacks you think you can dodge and reflect you suddenly can't, and vice versa. What you need to do to successfully counter can be pretty vague when you're in the moment, and considering your overall grade improves for taking little to no damage, these are the only parts of the game where getting pure platinum trophies seems like an impossibility, which is an opinion I know I'm not alone in having, and it's kind of bizarre that the difficulty didn't get adjusted for this remastered version. This was the same issue back in the 2013 Wii U release. And speaking of negatives, going for full completion can be a bit annoying as well. There are so many collectibles in every stage, and there is nothing in-game that even hints to where most of them are. You just have to have a really keen eye for like a window that seems darker than all the others because it's open apparently, and there you go. There's a thing. If you want to be a completionist, I can see a very lengthy reading of a walkthrough in your future. Luckily though, these are the only negatives I can come up with within an otherwise masterpiece of an action game. It's just so damn good, man. The Wonderful 101 is one of my favorite games in a long time. 7 years after the initial release, my opinion still stands. I just really want people to play this game, man. It is so good, it did not get the respect it deserved, and I didn't even scratch the surface of all the cool stuff that happens in this entire adventure. You deserve to see it all for yourself. It is so good. Now that the game is available on every console, including PC, you have no excuse. A lot's changed for Platinum over the years. You know, you look at games like Bayonetta 2 and Astral Chain. These games are not only really good, but really successful. And in my opinion, The Wonderful 101 is right up there, if not better, than its contemporaries. I have waited 7 long years to shine another spotlight on this game. It totally deserves it. And if you let it slip through your fingers once again, I swear, I'm gonna be very sad. And that would be the opposite of
wonderful.
So now you have to play it.